kid? Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Handsome Homebuyer Podcast. My name is Charles, a.k.a. the Handsome Homebuyer, a.k.a. Captain Permit, a.k.a.
El Judío Maravilloso,
a.k.a. the 2020 LLS Man of the Year. Up top, got one of the members of Team Handsome 2020 LLS Man of the Year in the building. But before we go there, Maddie, you know who else is Man of the Year? Captain Permit. 516-513-8838. If you need plans, if you need permits, we got the best team in the business. I'm going to run down the roster real quick. We got the man Dennis out in the field, code expert, knows everything the towns are going to do to you and how they're going to do to you, the way you like it, the way you don't like it, with lube, without lube. He's the guy that knows. You got my brother-in-law, Ryan, best beard in the business, and I challenge anybody to call me and say they've seen or have a better one out there measuring, going to the towns, making it happen. Steve drafting his little heart out in only the way that he can. And I dare say the best looking man in the permit business, the COO, Mike Arado, jacked on a level that nobody else in the permit business is. During the day, he's crushing the towns, crushing permits for you. At night, he's crushing heavyweight for hours on end. Obviously, I'm the Handsome Homebuyer. If you have a house that smells like cat pee, it's dated from the 1960s, has 6 inches of mold on the wall, human waste floating past the basement steps. This is a lot different in person than if you listen to it, right? You feel the power, you feel the energy of the room. I want to fucking buy it. 516-777 sold. If you have commercial property, notes, land for development, I don't care what it is. If the man almighty created it and it cannot be moved, I want to buy it. All right. I'm excited.
My man.
This has been a build-up, bro.
Yeah?
I feel, haven't I been like, I've been chasing you.
You have for a while.
I've been chasing you for a little while.
You laid out the trap and you caught me, man.
I don't give up, man. And you know what it is? I feel like the people out there, this is like kind of like a dual episode in the sense that it's for the guys, because guys need you, because we historically suck at what you're great at, which we'll go into in a minute. Mm-hmm. It's also for the ladies.
Yeah.
Because you are a smooth, handsome mother effer.
Hey, man. You know, got it from a pop.
We got my good friend here. Most well-dressed man I know. Barry White type of voice. You know you have a voice like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I listen to myself and I'm like, you know, I don't sound that bad. And then I listen to myself and I'm like, I sound like a nasally Jewish man. But not you, sir. Smooth guy. Honored to have him on the team for LLS 2020 Man of the Year. He's a biblical man. He's a financial man. He's a well-dressed man. He is the VP of Solutions and Implementations for, I dare say, the largest and most profitable investment bank, not in New York, not in the country, I dare say, the world. Most importantly, he is the CEO and founder of SUITABULL. Dalton Gooding.
Thank you, Mr. Charles.
Good to have you, man.
Good to be here, man. Great to be here.
I feel like we're boys, but like we don't get to spend enough quality time together. So as I was explaining to you before, I was like, when I want to spend real intimate quality time with someone where I'm peeling away the layers, I get them on the podcast. Plus, I feel like there's a ton of gems that we got to talk about on the business front and what you currently do right now. So first, I want to talk a little bit about finance.
Yeah.
Because I love finance. I think people do. It's sexy, but I kind of feel like it's a Friends episode, even though I've never seen Friends, in the sense that nobody truly understands what anybody on Wall Street does. Right? Like, you'll throw a title out there, and it's just some crazy thing, and you know that, like, it's high energy, it's high stress, there's a lot of money flying around, it's the center of the financial world, but after you hear the title, you're still confused.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of background about, you know, what you did, your career, whatever you want to share with us.
Yeah, sure. I move money. The end.
And if there wasn't confusion before, there sure as shit is confusion now. But, so, what I want to get into...
That was a joke, by the way.
Oh, no, actually, I thought that was perfect. But you, at a very high level, you do very high-level project management. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah. Project management is the core of what I do.
Okay.
Yeah. So to back up for a moment and give you perspective on what it is I do, I got to tell you a little bit about the part of the IB that I work in.
Okay.
So
IB is investment bank.
Investment bank.
Okay.
Sorry about the acronyms, alphabet soup here. But so I'm part of what you call the custodian bank. So normal average Joe wouldn't walk into a custodian bank and say, hey, I need to open up an account.
What is a custodian bank?
Custodian bank is where institutions, asset managers, pension funds, large institutions such as that, they have their assets, securities, cash, commodities, etc. for safekeeping by a large firm, a custodian bank. Now, what that custodian bank does is that they safekeep the assets, they facilitate settlement, they manage corporate actions on any of the securities. So, corporate actions, an example is like a dividend or something that would happen that would change the nature of the security. So, we do all of that, accounting, portfolio administration, all those type of services, and runs a full gambit of managing the whole back and middle office of the life of a security. So that's what a custodian bank does, right? We also launch mutual funds and ETFs and products of that nature. So when you have a client that wants to change custodian banks, and usually clients will do that, they diversify where they have their assets for safekeeping, so they'll never have it 100% in one custodian bank.
Okay.
So they'll maybe have 40% here or 20% there, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So for whatever reason, be it fees or regulatory, they'll move a portion of their business over to the firm where I work.
Okay.
So there's that part. The other part is we have a new client or an existing client that wants to launch a new mutual fund on the street, and we'll facilitate the process of getting the client ready, culminating the assets, so that they can be pulled into the mutual fund and distributed on the street.
What kind of person or group launches a mutual fund?
Asset manager.
So it's like a hedge fund, or like who kind of like this is my own curiosity. Like, is it is it a bank that does it? Like, what kind of group, organization, individual launches a hedge fund? Launches a mutual fund.
Yeah, so large money managers. So your Fidelities of the world, your Vanguards of the world will launch funds. Your JP Morgan Asset Managements of the world will launch funds. So folks like that will come to, will facilitate that through a custodian bank.
Interesting. Is it? It sounds like a very overwhelming, just a lot of moving pieces type of job, like high stress, high energy. It's big money, a lot of deadlines, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that really, is that the reality of it?
Yeah, that's really the crux of it. And my role as the project manager is to hold it all together, right? So from the inception where a client engages us and says, we want you to launch a mutual fund for us, whether they're new or existing, what I do as a project manager is define the scope, right? So what does that mean? Are we just administering the fund from a custody standpoint, or are we performing accounting on it? Are we performing any of our other plethora of services on it, like foreign exchange, repatriating currencies, and things of that nature? And then once we gather the requirements, what we do is we pull together the team based on those requirements. We know who will be involved in the process. So it could be anywhere between 15 and 40 people on the team that I manage on any given project. So that's legal, that's account opening, that's compliance, that's KYC, know your customer, figuring out whether they're a criminal or not. Most of the time they're not, but we still need to do that due diligence.
Most of the time.
We still need to do that due diligence, to protect from reputational risk. So them, as well as fund accounting, if there's performance measurement on the fund, if there are foreign exchange services on the fund. So all of those together, and technology is a major component of that too. So pulling all of those folks together, understanding what the requirements are to launch the mutual fund, right, specific to the client's request, and then also what the timeline is going to look like, and then managing the client's expectations and executing against that timeline.
So when I hear that, I think to myself, first off, you must have the patience of a saint.
I've been told that.
That's one.
They never see me sweat.
Two, I'm curious to know about this. So, running you're basically, you're running a business, for lack of a better word. It's similar structure, like delegating people, etc. So when I think about just small businesses, right, which you're involved in, which I'm involved in, which most of America is involved in, when I think about getting talent together and then how they respond, I'm curious to know, like, when you're operating on a very high level with some major people, is the struggles of organizing and making sure everybody does their job and things flow together, similar to what you hear about me dealing with houses and contractors not showing up? Is this just like a people thing?
Yeah.
Or when you get to a certain level and you have a certain caliber of person, does it become easier? Is it always the same shit? Like,
yeah, I think we run into a lot of similar challenges, right? Talent being one of them, motivation as well, because everyone's not motivated the same as you are. Everyone doesn't have the same level of accountability that you do, or maybe I do in my role. And so the people aspect of it is what really makes or breaks, for lack of a better word, a good project. And so a lot of times it's also conflicting priorities, right? Because I'm sure even in your world, you may deal with a contractor, but perhaps they have other business that they're doing as well for other folks.
Yeah.
And same with me, right? So for instance, none of the people on my project team directly report to me, right? So I'm taking resources from line teams in order to work on a project, right? So they allocate time against my project. Keep in mind, they're also working on other projects at the same time.
So, got it. Okay. So they have a 40 or 50 hour work week, whatever it is, and they're chopping up their time amongst different projects and different project managers.
Right. So they're churning and burning on this one thing for different people. I'm churning and burning on maybe anywhere between 1 to 10 projects that include all of those different components.
Do you have direct access with these people or no?
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. Some of them are onshore, some are offshore, but yeah, direct access with them.
So my question for you as we talk about this is, how do you, like, when these people can do are working on a bunch of different projects and you need them to really perform for you, how do you motivate them and keep them focused and manage all those 45 different personalities?
Well, it's a lot about relationship building, right? It's give and take and respecting people, right? I always make sure that there's an element of respect on any of my projects. I don't allow anyone to talk crazy to one another on my calls. I don't allow people to disrupt my meetings.
Does that stuff happen?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because people are going to be people regardless, right? You can't control that. We all come from different backgrounds, have different experiences. So there's always a brat in the room, right? So you've got to do your best as the project manager to temper that so that it doesn't contaminate the environment of the rest of the team.
Shit.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I want to transition into Suitable, but I want to take it back before we actually get to Suitable. So obviously, the viewers at home can see you're as put together as a man can get. Like all I's dotted, all T's crossed,
Appreciate
the
that.
whole nine, and it's done in like just a perfectly put together package. Not too try hard, just enough. Like the accents are there. I
appreciate it, man.
If I'm getting a little tingly, I have a girlfriend and I love women, but I'm just saying, in the event that I wasn't, you might be in trouble. The point is,
But I'm also taken though.
Sure, okay. And I know your wife, and I that's a fight I wouldn't want to fight because I know I would lose.
This man, 5-foot terror, man. She'll get you.
So what I'm curious to know is, before we get to the actual Suitable, obviously, I assume that fashion has been deeply ingrained in you and a part of your life from forever.
Definitely.
And actually, to take it a little bit back further than that, well, no, we'll go with that first. Like, I see your son, and he is dapper as dapper could be at 4.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious to know about your upbringing and how, where you come from, background, and how that, how fashion was a big part of your life and how that relates to your ultimate passion of what you're doing now.
Yeah. It was forced on me. I mean,
fashion was forced on you?
Fashion was forced on me at a very young age. Tell me what other kid at 6 years old, second grade, walks into a class with corduroys, a sweater vest, a button-up shirt, and penny loafers. Who? Tell me who else. You know anyone, Matt?
No.
Yeah. So that was my dad's whole thing. I mean, my
Okay.
dad immigrated here. He's not from this country. He's from Sierra Leone, West Africa.
Okay.
So a lot of British influence. So when he was growing up,
Really?
he loved to dress up
Okay.
like a lot. I mean, he would order his stuff from the UK. I mean, button-up shirts.
So he loved
Yeah,
that was his thing.
He loved it, man.
What business was he? What did he do?
He was in medical healthcare administration.
Okay.
Yeah. So he worked for a hospital.
Okay.
So he's retired now. Lucky guy. So at a young age, he used to have me dressed up in these outfits because he knew the value of presenting yourself well, right?
Okay.
How you present yourself will shape the way that people perceive you. And so he always imparted that in me. So he would always dress me up in these sweater vests and corduroys and get up and make sure I tuck my shirt in and make sure that, I look good and presentable. My hair is combed right. So at a very young age, that was him. Even when I wanted to wear, what everyone else is wearing, jeans and, shirts hanging out the pants and all that stuff, he would always say, be yourself. And I really didn't understand it until later on. The value of being yourself, being comfortable with who you are, dressing well, and being presentable, right? Because, that's the first thing that people see.
Yeah,
right?
first impressions.
Yeah. So that's all my dad right there.
So growing up, you hated it. You wanted to dress a certain way. You didn't want the structure. Maybe it's just that as kids you want to be rebellious. You want to test, right? Maybe that's just part of it. Like whatever our parents want us to do, we kind of want to do the opposite.
It's not really the rebellious factor. As a kid, you want to fit in. You don't want to stand out as a kid. You want to be like everybody else. Mm-hmm. When you become an adult, you want to be your own person.
Look at Matt Arvisual over there. He's like, you're going deep right now, and shit is just resonating with Matt Arvisual right now.
Cool.
Keep preaching.
Hey,
Bring it.
But I mean, that's really what it is, man. You want to fit in. You want to look like everyone else. People make fun of you when you look different, and that was a part of it also. Come in looking like somebody's dad in elementary and in elementary school, and it's like, all right, you're the odd one out. But you realize that being comfortable with who you are, and even taking it a level further, that when I started to kind of wear jeans and other things like that, I would still make sure that I'm neat, that it's ironed, it's pressed, I look crisp, I put it together well, just like he would, but just not corduroys and penny loafers.
See, I always liked learning about where people come from, because my mother used to say this to me all the time, and I understood what she was saying, but I don't think I truly got it until very recently.
Yeah.
Which was, she was like, you are what you live. Remember that, Charles. You are what you live. Yeah. And I was like, what are you saying to me, Mom? Like, what are you saying to me? And now it is so interesting to ask people about like their past and where they came from and their parents, to see how that shaped them. Yeah. And what kind of impact that had on the person they are today. Right. So I'm actually curious to know, at what moment did that the hatred of just structured fashion turn to a love of fashion?
So I think in high school, junior high to high school, that transition really made me appreciate it. And it wasn't like I was dressing up in business suits when I got to high school. I was still wearing clothing like everyone else at this point. Jeans, shirts, sweaters, whatever, rugby shirts back then in the 90s.
Z Cavariccis in the 80s. Did you have Z Cavariccis?
No.
Z Cavariccis are making a comeback right now. You know about Z Cavariccis, right? Do you know what they are?
No.
They're like MC Hammer pants.
With man.
Pleats.
Oh my God.
No, you're not signing off on that?
You mean the genie pants?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like, it didn't look like, like the crotch was dropping and it looked like you took a dump in your pants, but like they were like, genie-esque type of pants with pleats. Yeah. I had like 6 pairs of those things, bro.
Really?
How old are you?
I just got a vision of you looking like MC Hammer.
Dude, let me paint. Let me paint this picture for you. Like 1991. I had a luscious mane of hair, right? I had like the Beverly Hills 90210 Brandon wave in the front.
Oh, get out of here.
With the luscious hair going back, with the Z Cavariccis on, with the Reebok pumps, with the tongue out.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
I don't know what kind of shirt, but I'm sure it looked...
Did you pump them?
Crazy.
Did you pump the pumps?
Of course.
At least 3 times, right?
Of course you pumped the pumps. Yeah. I don't know what the magic number was, but I know that I definitely pumped the pumps, whatever the magic number was. Yeah. So... Junior high, you started coming into your own, you started feeling yourself. You were like, you know what? Dad's been pushing this on me, but now I'm starting to get it.
Yeah, junior high, high school, and really the whole thing about fitting in that I talked about earlier. I mean, it kind of makes sense that was also the reason why I wanted to step out and be kind of this fashion guy or the style guy, someone who took real pride in the way that he looked, was because I was a shy guy, so I fell under the radar a lot.
Which shocks me.
Yeah, I know. So at that point, really, it was like, well, I know that there's value in taking pride in how I look, so I'm just going to take that to the bank. And I started to really dress and take pride in myself. And that, of course, builds esteem, builds confidence. Yeah. And that's another component of why I do what I do with Suitable also, because it builds confidence, it builds esteem, helps you to feel good about yourself. Yeah. But it also shapes people's perception of you. So it's your
identity. Now, I'm curious to know if this happened, because this is what I'm thinking in my mind. You started dressing this, that. Was there a moment that you can remember where you got, like, maybe I'm just being dramatic because I am dramatic, but was there a moment where you got this compliment? Maybe it was from a girl, maybe it was from a guy. There was a moment where you got, like, the first compliment you can remember on your style, and at that point that kind of, like, was like throwing gasoline on a fire?
Oh, man.
Am I making this up? Is this not a real thing?
I can't remember the exact moment.
You know where I'm going with this, right?
But, I just remember, after a while, like, my crew started to look like more like how I was dressing, right?
Yeah.
We went from, like, normal whatever to, like, the pretty boy crew. So yeah, the way that we dressed. So, I mean, I think at that moment where we started to kind of run things in that way and just being on point.
Realize you were a trendsetter.
Yeah, exactly.
So, fast forward X numbers of years, you're on Wall Street, a lot of money, high fashion, etc., and you say to yourself, well, first of all, let me go back. I'm curious to know about this. How much does where you work influence your particular style?
I think the idea of where I work influences my style. Because believe it or not, the industry's moved towards business casual and even casual. So there are folks at my job who wear jeans every day, right?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, when you're not out doing road shows, like if you're not on the end of the IB of the investment bank, where you're out doing road shows and trying to raise capital and things like that, you don't have to wear a suit when you're not in front of a client every single day. Like, we're client facing, and so, other areas on my floor, but when you're not out facing the client every day, you don't have to wear a suit. So that's kind of the main premise. When you face a client, you do wear a suit and you do look presentable. Okay. But yeah, I think the idea of it, and so wanting to be on Wall Street since I was in college, really, I was like, I can't wait to get there. I'm going to wear the suit. I'm going to look good. I'm going to look like Gordon Gekko, Charlie Sheen, look like those guys. And, that idea was what really
did the fashion. Most people are drawn to Wall Street because they see the money, the this, that. You were drawn to Wall Street by the fashion?
The fashion and the money.
And the money.
Yeah, the fashion and the money. And I didn't even start on Wall Street. I mean, my first job was at Nielsen Media as a business manager. And so I had this manager and friend, Scott, who really took pride in the way that he dressed. So that only, like, catapulted me to want to look good. Because it's like, all right, you look good, all right, this is what I'm going to wear tomorrow. So there's always that yin and yang where we would, take off and try to not outdo each other, but compliment each other. And everyone would say, oh, you guys look great. Or, oh, you always dress so nice. And so that, to your point of what you were saying earlier, the compliments, that's kind of when I really can remember.
Gasoline on the fire.
Gasoline on the fire, man.
So I will sit. So obviously trends have been changing and moving back and forth, which is kind of interesting. I actually always really loved fashion. In general, I will make a claim, and please don't, the public don't shoot me for this, is men kind of suck at fashion. Yeah. Historically. Yeah. I mean, back in the day, men were really put together, and then we went through kind of like this 90s grunge, I don't know, just find something that's clean on the floor in your house type of thing, guys, and we fell off. And guys never really took care of themselves as far as, skincare, haircuts, things like that. That was always like a girl type of thing. But now things are changing, and it kind of seems like guys are coming back a little more to like structure and dressing up and really, taking pride in how they look.
Right.
So I want you to get into that. Before you do, I want you to explain exactly what Suitable is and what you do, and then where the concept for it came from and how it morphed into what it is becoming.
Sure. So Suitable is where Wall Street and Fashion Ave meet.
Bam!
So it's a play on words, right? So Suitable, SUITABULL, and for those at home, this is how it's written, right? So Suitable, right? So when I was thinking of a name, I was like, all right, what can I say that has suit in it, and that will really speak to the element of how one should look. So Suitable, you got to look suitable when you're going out, but also the Wall Street element of it, the Wall Street bull, and how people carry themselves with that confidence are all culminated together. You got the SUITABULL. Mm-hmm. So that whole enterprise is
better visuals getting into this, dude.
That so the whole premise of it is to shape folks' perception of you and to help to manage your own perception of yourself, right? So the confidence thing that I was talking about earlier in the pod. And so with that, there are a few things, right? So there's the blog, which caters to the masses. It's what you should do, what you should wear to a formal event, what are the parts of a suit, other things, how to cleanse out your closet, get rid of stuff you don't need. And then I also do that on a more personal level, right? So style consulting, that business of it is that, keeps the lights on, right? So there's, one-on-one consultation. What do you do? What do you like? How would you like to look? Things of that nature, really getting to know the client and then applying that in some different areas, right? Applying that to what do you need in your closet that you don't need? What do you need in your closet versus what you do not need? And also, how can we scale that down so that you can look the best possible version of yourself? There's how do you want to look for a formal event? How do you want to look every day for work? And just overall, learning about the fashion and styling aspect while you're going through the process. So I have consultations that I will schedule with clients, and then any level of those other services will have their own packages as well. So depending on what the client wants, that's what we cater to. But really, it's educating them on fashion and also helping them to feel their best self, because the main premise of Suitable really touches on what I found is my calling in this world, and I found this out. It was like a light bulb moment. Is to uplift and motivate people, and seeing that style and fashion are near and dear to me. It's like how better to do that than through helping people to feel good about themselves through the way that they look. Yeah. So that's really the crux and the core of Suitable.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's everybody has things that they're great at and things that they're lacking in, right? And I always found that the fastest way to become a more well-rounded, better person in general is to just be humble and say to yourself, I'm great at this, so I can offer that service or advice to people, and things that I am deficient in, to partner up with a professional and let them help me and through the process become better at it. I mean, fashion's a huge thing. We live in a superficial society, so first impressions are huge. Yeah. To your point, even on a deeper level, when you look good, you feel amazing. Yeah. You project yourself differently. It's a game changer for people and what they can do and accomplish. So what I'm curious to know is, like, the light bulb goes off. Yeah, I'm passionate about this, but most businesses, I feel, come from like people see a gap in the market. Yeah. Right. Or just a need that isn't being filled.
Right.
Was there a moment where you started seeing this, or was it constant repetitive? Like, where did that exactly come from?
So it came from the fact of seeing just people in my own industry. I mean, it's like you're going to see a client, but you don't seem like you look like your best presentable self. You know what I'm saying? You're just seeing the varying levels. Like the person who's very senior, who maybe a managing director, that is very buttoned up, to maybe the associate or maybe even someone on my level, even at VP, that is not as buttoned up. And so it's like, no, we all need to be looking like the guy who's calling, the big deals, right? So looking like the managing director, looking like the guy in charge, because no one really knows, right? But you got to look the part. And so the gap there is seeing the different levels of knowledge and bringing everyone up the curve to what that knowledge, to what they should be knowing. And then also kind of seeing the shift of the culture where a lot of people care about their appearances now, probably because of women. As we all know, that's a motivating factor for a lot of men, is to keep themselves looking good. So seeing that niche there from a professional standpoint is what kind of got me in there saying, all right, yeah, I've been doing this. People are always telling me I look great, and I know how this works, and I know where it's needed. So
did you have a lot of guys approaching you being like, yo, Dalton, you look fly, I'm going out on this date, I'm taking my girl here, I'm meeting this girl? Like, do you have suggestions, you have pointers, you take your boys out, like, listen, you got to put this together like this? Did that kind of stuff start to happen, and then you were just like, oh,
yeah,
maybe this?
All the time, man. I mean, even for wedding, like I styled one of my closest friends for their wedding, and even the whole bridal party for the groomsmen. So, just stuff like that. Your first customer is always going to be the people who are closest to you with something like this, right? Just like how, your biggest supporters in any business will be the ones that are closest to you. They may be your first investors. They may be your first clients. And so, this was kind of another example of that.
Talk to me about just the fashion industry in general now, like how you see trends changing, how you see technology coming into the world. Like, I mean, there's all these cool apps I see where you like take a body scan of yourself and then you can order custom shirts. Like, how do you see, tech and the industry changing and trends changing within fashion for men?
No, that's a great question. I mean, technology is definitely a huge component. You see a lot of brick and mortar stores going out of business because of technology. So,
yeah, man.
Just for example, you see like in Amazon putting Sears kind of put itself out of business, but you see them maybe putting like a Sears or like any of the other number of department stores out of business because people are now going online to shop. I think with fashion, people want things that are convenient. So they'll put in, parameters and have someone else figure it out, like not free advertise, but, the names out there, that will have an app or a subscription service, so to speak. But I think person to person will always be necessary. I think it caters to a particular client base. I think there's a level of intimacy with your client that you should have, because the better you know them, the better you can serve them, which is why person to person will never go out of style. So technology is helping a lot of different people to get in the game, but I think for that next level, you really got to sell the relationship component of it, and that's really what it is.
Do you tend to cater to like people on a higher end? Is it a very broad kind of base of people? Is it you have certain people that you deal with as like a one-off for one event because it's a very important thing, like a wedding or whatever it is, and then you have people that just kind of like you meet with periodically just as kind of like a general consulting, just because this is very important and they always want to look fresh in their life?
Yeah, I mean, I think more or less it's event by event. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of on call, so as needed, so not really a set schedule. I mean, obviously at some point, as the relationships build more and more, would definitely want to have folks who will refresh season by season, which isn't uncommon, right? But to answer your question about the level of folks that I deal with, it's on varying levels. I mean, from high level, folks who only shop at Neiman's and shop at Saks, to people who want to, get a bargain, right? I mean, for me personally, I'm always in for a good bargain, right? I always want to get a good deal, I should say. Doesn't mean that, clothing or shoes or anything are cheap or cheaply made, but it's, getting the right deal, and feeling good about what I bought for myself and, how I look, right? And that kind of adds a challenge component to it as well, because anyone can go into a store and spend $5,000 and walk out with, a great looking suit or a bad looking suit. But, it takes a lot of skill to have a defined budget that you work within, and then using that to say, all right, well, I can only spend, $50 on a shirt. Where could I go to, find a nice French cuff shirt with a banker collar, for instance. So all levels.
Yeah, like when I look at fashion, I think you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money to look amazing. Like you can you can walk into a Walmart, a Target, and if you have the right eye or you're working with someone with the right eye, you can make $300 worth of clothes look like $3,500 worth of clothes.
Right.
So I wanted you to kind of touch on that. I think a big thing that men don't understand is how important fit is and tailoring.
Right. So, good segue. So tailoring and fit are probably, and quality, are the key components to having that look, if you will, right? Without spending a ton of money. So you can get nice quality of fabric without spending a ton of money. Obviously, the levels vary. Wool types, Super 140s is very, very fine wool, very, very expensive, but it's not a workhorse. You can't wear it every day because it'll disintegrate over a short amount of time. But if you have like a good quality wool, usually natural textiles are what I like to wear. I usually try to stay away from the synthetics like a polyester because the naturals will stay a little richer. So, but what I mean by that are like this is a wool suit, right? So you wear a wool suit, or if you wear a linen suit in the summertime or a cotton suit in the summertime, having the richness of the colors and so forth. Without spending a ton of money. And everyone has wool suits. Every manufacturer has cotton suits, etc. But make sure you start off with a good base or a great quality of fabric. And then secondly is the tailoring component. So once you have it, it doesn't, and going back to the $5,000 example, you could spend $5,000 on a suit at Barney's or Saks or wherever, but if it doesn't fit you right, it's going to look like trash. Yep. So you've got to take it to the tailor. You've got to, if necessary, get the cuff shortened so that you have a little bit of your shirt cuff showing. You got to get it hemmed, of course. That's like basic, getting it hemmed. And what a lot of men are doing today are getting the jackets tapered so that it fits the silhouette of the torso. So getting it tailored even at a basic level is very, very essential. I mean, if you get really sick with it, then you start doing things like shortening the jacket to be right above the zipper or right below the seat of your pants, alternate threading on your buttonholes, things like that. So
yeah, there is like a science to tailoring and the way these things should be set up to make you look your best. And I've seen like side by side before and after pictures, or I watch a lot of YouTube videos on this stuff because it is something. I mean, even though I'm wearing $30 worth of Gap clothes right now, I do like this stuff.
Still look good.
And
hat looks great, man.
The hat does look good. It makes it different. And the interesting kind of thing is, even though it's coming back, like what I really, really want, I really want a bespoke suit. That's like one of these. I'm not a very bougie guy, but I want one. Like, yeah. I just want one of those things because I feel like I genuinely believe that nothing is going to fit you better than something like that.
Absolutely.
And when I look around in New York, it's not that like readily available compared to places or they'll say it's bespoke, but it's really not. For those of you who don't know what bespoke is basically custom made for you.
Right.
They'll take measurements, but then they'll send it out to China. Like
right.
when I think about like Savile Row and places like that, I don't see it as much in New York as you would think that you would, given the amount of money there. Am I off on that? Is that accurate?
It's there. You just gotta find it, and I have connections with that as well. But yeah, you're right. Most times they'll send it to China or they'll send it to Mexico. I know of a company that would do that.
Yeah.
But some actually do it here in the States. Obviously, those will be the ones which cost a little bit more than their contemporaries, obviously because labor costs and so forth. But yeah, I mean they definitely have them. And just to piggyback on your distinction of bespoke suits, so what a lot of people don't know is that they have bespoke suits which are full custom. Right, so they come and they literally make the suit for you. You pick the fabric, you pick the lining, and they tailor it to your body. You do a first measurement where they have the canvas of the suit. So all of this stuff, it's like Frankenstein. You'll see all the guts of the suit still out, and maybe no arm, but they'll make sure that it fits perfectly. And then they'll come back and then they'll measure you again at a later point and then finish up the suit. And then they have made to measure, where they kind of have the skeleton of the suit already there. And then they build on top of that skeleton, which is made to measure for you. So
just kind of like a recommendation for people out there. You're a young gun, you're 23, 25 years old, you just got a job, you know, you have to wear a suit, you want to look fresh, but like you're making $30,000, $40,000 a year. Where do you go?
Suitable.
Exactly.
Fuck.
Come see me, and I'll steer you in the right direction. And really, why I say that is because, again, I'm always out for the hunt of a good deal, right? And I'll do that for my client, right? And I respect every client. Doesn't matter if, you know, again, you're shopping at Saks or if you're shopping at, you know, Burlington, you know, or Macy's or whatever. You know, I'm going to treat you just the same level of respect, and I'm going to respect your budget, and, you know, we're going to work together and have a good time, and you're going to learn something in the process. So, but again, to answer your question, it's, you know, namely your department stores will have suits that are affordable for the masses. And again, it's really understanding the basics there. And I talk about this in one of my blogs as well, is starting off with the basics, navy blue, charcoal suit.
That's what I was going to ask you.
But, you know, making sure that it's tailored properly, making sure that you have good fabric quality, and also having the basis of shirts and ties and so forth. So
the last thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about, because obviously, you know, we're talking about fashion, we're talking about money, we're talking about Wall Street. But what I really want to, and I always try to, like, I don't want to promote this, like, Instagram, everything is easy kind of lifestyle. So, like, what I want to talk about is for the business people out there, for people that are you know, I'm in this job or I want to do that. You know, you grind. Like, starting another business, starting a different, you know, like following your passion, following your dreams while having 2 kids, a wife, and commuting to the city every day is not an easy thing to do. I mean, I guess I want to hear a little bit about the struggles of forming the business, finding the motivation, like you said before, at 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night to work on this, to get to initially have gotten this passion project off the ground, the marketing behind it. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's tough, man. Especially when you're in a demanding 9 to 5, and then you come home, and then, you know, your second job, which is really your first job, is your family, and that's more demanding because, I mean, there's higher stakes in that, right? You got to make sure that your spouse is okay. You got to make sure that your kids have, you know, safe environment where they're learning and they feel loved, so they don't go out into the world screwed up. So, and then, you know, there's a part where the time that's left, it's like, all right, now I could work on Suitable. So it's definitely a tough balancing act. But I think one of the things that helped me to focus on it is knowing that I'm doing this to create a legacy as well. My parents are not traditional entrepreneurs. They're corporate people, so to speak. Both work for the hospital system. My mom is a florist. She's done that for many years on the side. But in terms of forming the business and carrying it through, like, I want my son to see that, you know, he can go to college, he can go work for a firm, or he can start his own business, right? Or if that doesn't work out, he can take on a trade that will pay dividends for him, right? Where he can earn a high income similar to that of some people on Wall Street, right? So, you know, really to create that opportunity and avenue for my sons to see, you know, that they could do it too. But yeah, starting the business, getting the motivation to do it took some pushing from some great people, my wife being one of them. She's always been a battery in my back. Also, a couple of my boys who have really been instrumental in making sure that, you know, I stay motivated. So Mark, as you know, and, you know, my other friend Mark, one of my other close friends, Sean, Jamie, a couple of other folks who helped to really behind the scenes pull things together for me, advice or what have you. But yeah, I mean, and finding those times where I got to motivate myself, and that's where the legacy building comes into play, is, you know, that motivation that I've got to do something that's bigger than me, right?
So if there's someone listening to this in another country, because we're global too, we're not the world's biggest investment bank yet, but the Handsome Homebuyer podcast, I say, is global. If you have someone sitting there who's not working or in a job that maybe they like but don't love, and they have another passion, but they're just they can't make the leap, they can't take the first step. What do you say to that person?
I say, what do you got to lose, right? What do you have to lose? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So take the shot. You might make it. You might surprise yourself. And then also surround yourself with people who are rooting for you, real people, your day ones, that really want to see you win. Because you'll need that, right? There's no room for anyone who, you know, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but who can't add value to your life. And by that, I don't mean monetarily. I don't mean that they can open doors for you, but just even people who speak positively into you and, you know, believe in you, right? Because that's key, man. I mean, this world, we're not in this world by ourselves. So we've got to show love to people around us and support people around us that we care about. So, I mean, get you some people that you care about, that care about you, and take the leap of faith.
I'm with that. Dude, I love it. I live by it. You're the fucking man. Thank you for coming down. It's a real pleasure. How do people get a hold of you? How do they follow you? I know you post a lot of, you have the blog, you have a lot of videos that you're popping off, just giving out a lot of free advice to guys out there. Where do they find you? How do they check you out? How do they get in touch with you?
Sure. So you can contact me at contact@suitable.com. So SUITABULL.com. So on the website as well, suitable.com. There is, you can engage services that way as well. That'll take you through a questionnaire that'll tell me a little bit about yourself, depending on what service you choose. And then that'll go right to our inbox. And then, you know, we can start the process there.
How do they find you on Instagram, YouTube?
So on Instagram, I am @suitable, spelled the same way, of course. And on YouTube, coming soon.
Perfect. Maddie, you know who's the best dressed man in the permit business?
I do.
Who?
Captain
Permit. 516-513-8838. If you need plans, permits, legalizations, new builds, commercial, you name it, we do it. Call the captain. And obviously, if you have a piece of real estate you want to sell and at least you want to get entertained, I can guarantee you, at the very least, I'm a good time, but I want to buy it. 516-777-SOLD. That's a wrap.
Orgulloso estoy de mi herencia judía. Benjamín Leben Shlomo, cuando me llaman a la torre, así me llamo yo.